The Wild West has often been glamorized as a time of rugged cowboys, daring outlaws, and boundless freedom. But the reality of life on the American frontier was far from glamorous. Here are 10 brutal truths that reveal what life was really like in the Wild West. 1. Lawlessness and vigilante justice. The Wild West wasn't under strict law enforcement. Towns were often miles apart, and lawmen were few and far between. This led to vigilante justice, where people took matters into their own hands, often leading to wrongful punishments and feuds that lasted generations. 2. Disease was deadlier than a gunfight. While gunfights have become iconic symbols of the West, diseases like tuberculosis, dysentery, and smallpox were much more dangerous. Medical care was primitive, and doctors often had limited supplies and training, which meant simple illnesses could quickly turn deadly. 3. Weather could be merciless. The Wild West experienced harsh weather conditions, from blistering summers to brutal winters. Settlers and cowboys alike faced the constant threat of drought, blizzards, and even tornadoes. This made travel treacherous, crops hard to grow, and survival difficult. 4. Native American conflicts were a constant threat. Settlers moving west frequently encountered Native American tribes. Many of these encounters turned violent due to land conflicts, misunderstandings, and cultural differences. Both sides experienced tragic losses in clashes that were often fueled by the encroachment on native lands. 5. Life was short and full of hard labor. Most people on the frontier worked from dawn until dusk. Farming, building shelters, and caring for livestock were physically demanding and left little time for rest. Life expectancy was low, and hard work and accidents often led to early deaths. 6. Water was scarce and often unsafe. The American West was dry, and finding fresh water was a constant challenge. Many wells were contaminated or became dry, forcing people to rely on river water that was sometimes dangerous to drink due to animal contamination and bacteria. 7. Criminals and outlaws were a real problem. Robberies, train heists, and murders were not just the stuff of legends. The Wild West was rife with outlaws, and notorious gangs roamed, causing chaos. Towns had to post guards, and travelers often carried weapons to protect themselves from bandits. 8. Poor hygiene led to health issues. Life on the frontier was dirty. Clean water, soap, and medical supplies were scarce, so hygiene was minimal. Bathing was a luxury for many, and the lack of sanitation led to illnesses and infestations of lice and fleas. 9. Unpredictable livelihoods. Prospecting for gold or working as a cowboy might sound adventurous, but these jobs were unstable and low-paying. Many settlers moved west with hopes of wealth and stability, only to find themselves stuck in grueling, underpaid labor. 10. Isolation was a way of life. People in the Wild West were often isolated. Some settlements were miles from the nearest town, and travel was difficult and dangerous. This led to loneliness, with families and individuals having limited contact with the outside world, which sometimes caused mental health issues. Life in the Wild West was a far cry from the glamorized version we see today. It was a challenging, often brutal environment where survival took precedence over any notion of glory.